Chilanga Conversing.
Welcome back to another episode of Chilanga Converses. I'm your host, Mr. Pars, or you can call me Sunday.
This is Malundu, the Kingpin.
Skills, what up, everybody?
Hi, this is Magoo.
Yeah, our Chilanga residents here joining us today for our Freestyle segment, where we get requests from all of our listeners on what they want to hear, basically. So the first one comes from Alice in Chalala. She wants to hear about morbid crimes. And unfortunately, I mean, we have had one recently in our area. What happened basically is a young couple who were married. They had disputes, obviously. Money, stepping out on each other.
Yeah.
And then alcohol was involved.
Yeah.
The young man ended up stabbing his wife 3 times. She was pregnant at the time. Yeah. Crazy thing is his friend was asleep in the same house while this was happening. And he went out, he went to go have another drink. He came back, he tried to kill himself with a knife. It didn't work out, and then he decided to hang himself. Yeah, and you can imagine the shock of the guy whose house it was. You wake up and you see a trail of blood, and then you see bodies, and you're just like, good Lord, man, what happened?
It's like waking up into a terrible nightmare. You wake up and you're like, am I dreaming? Am I awake? And it's like you see the scene in front of you. It's morbid. It's harrowing.
And it happened so close to us.
Yeah, sure it did. Yeah, we were all caught by surprise, seeing that the young man involved was... I happen to know him, right? Yeah. He was quite good, man. He wasn't the violent type. He was easygoing. He got along with everyone.
He was always smiling.
Smiling, yeah.
I've never seen him personally get into a fight.
Nah, neither have I. Anyway, rumor has it, from what I've heard, the two had an argument earlier on. The third guy wasn't really a friend. He is a friend to his older brother. Mm-hmm. So he was keeping them. They were cohabiting at his house for about a week. And he gets tired of their drama because they've been arguing for a while. And he tells them, you have to leave today. Mm-hmm. So he says, I'm going to have myself a couple of drinks. When I'm back, I should find you gone. So the owner of the house, his elder brother's friend or counterpart, associate, goes to the bar to give them time to sort out their issues and time also to move out the house. Mm-hmm. So what the young guy does, according to the story, he first goes, has a couple of drinks with his girl, a couple of arguments at the bar, take it back to the house, more arguments, right? During the middle of the argument, they got physical. Yeah. No one was there to witness it, but from what people hear, the noise went silent for a while, right? And people were quiet. Seemed like they had sorted out their issues. The young man goes down to the post office, tries to get himself a cab. Cab driver denies because it's too late, right? He thinks option B, he just goes back to the house, wraps her up, right? And then he hangs himself. But the rope is so long that his tippy toes can touch the ground. Mm-hmm. So he opts to go for the knife and cut his throat. Now, people say the reason why he did this is because one of the girl's relatives is actually an officer. And he was afraid if that person found out that he would go to jail and do time for a long while, 25 to life. Yeah.
It is. I mean, in this country, isn't it life? If not, you get
Death
Is
penalty.
Death penalty.
penalty.
Yeah. So apparently now the guy the owner of the house, comes back home at 4 in the morning, very drunk, doesn't bother to turn on the light, just enters and goes to his bed. Actually, he doesn't even get to his bed. He actually sleeps in the corner, on the floor, in the corner. That's how high he was. He slept in the corner on the floor, right? So next morning, neighbors wake up and they see a trail of blood right by his doorstep, right about 6 in the morning, maybe a bit earlier. Yeah. So that's how they decide to knock on his door. And he opens the door because it's too dark in the room. He hasn't opened the windows, it's too dark in the room. He opens the door, and the person on the other side of the door exclaims because there's a body behind in the corner, in the other corner. Yeah. So the owner of the house.
So the person is surprised.
Yeah.
The door is open and he sees a body like back there.
Back there.
So
yeah.
he's shocked, he's surprised, like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So what happens then?
So the owner of the house turns around to see this guy hanging, and his throat is slit. Yeah. So he decides to try and wake up his girlfriend, his so-called wife, because they had been cohabiting. And in the process, as he uncovers, he notices she's bleeding, she's dead. Yeah. This guy, after cutting her stomach open, he actually tried to cover it with a cloth. Yeah. Trying to wrap it up, I think in preparation to maybe carry it into a car and dump the body somewhere. Yeah. Anyway, rumor has it that, and I heard this from 3 good sources. One person who lives right next to them, and yeah, a woman.
That is insane. I mean, we can't speak to his state of mind, but the whole event in itself is insane because you can never predict a murder-suicide.
Yeah.
Especially one so close to home with people you know.
Unfortunately, the murder didn't occur in their house. Like, they had to go and murder themselves in somebody else's house. You know what I mean? Huh?
Yeah.
And like, the owner of the house didn't even rent it out to them. The owner of the house rented out the house to his friend, who happened to be friends with the
Elder brother to the deceased.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he's gonna be sleeping now, man.
He must have nightmares, you know. He must really have nightmares. Seeing that he gave them one more day, you know, he must be thinking to himself, I should have told them to leave immediately, you know. Yeah. Nobody can predict that, so yeah, it should really be eating up on the inside.
So the elder brother's brother.
Elder brother's friend.
The elder brother's friend.
Yes.
Okay, what I'm trying to understand is the relationship between the deceased and the person who was renting the house that we're living in at the time.
So it's like can I explain it like this, huh? I own a house that I'm renting out. You get, huh? Then you come in to rent that house. So apparently you've got a friend who's having issues with the girlfriend or whatsoever you may call it. Or you get, huh? So what I do is, I meet you at the bar. Then you explain to me saying you don't have where to sleep. Then I'm like, okay, since you don't have where to sleep and I'm out here at the bar, you can go and sleep in my house while I have a few drinks here, then I'll join you later on. Apparently, that's another side of the story. Like, that's how the guy handed over the keys to the deceased, who went and murdered his girlfriend from there. Apparently, I don't think he even let the guy who was renting the house know that they are having issues with the girlfriend that they are that they wanted to go and solve from his house.
I very much doubt he let anybody know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's not something you just openly disclaim.
Yeah, it was just a situation where you meet at the bar. You tell me you don't have a place to sleep, and we're friends, so it's cool. You can go and sleep in my house for a night. Then that's what happened, unfortunately.
Do we, in terms of our psychiatric, facilities here in Zambia, what facilities are there to, get people who've been through such things? Like the same guy who woke up and found this happened at his house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is available to him or like the families of the deceased to help cope and process these sort of events?
I think Chainama Hospital may help.
Chainama Hospital would help and can help, but unfortunately the private doctors are pricey, you see, especially your psychology doctors, the ones who give you sort of maybe rehab or counseling. Those guys charge per hour. I've been there. I've had family members be there, Yeah, I've attended meetings there in the past. Yeah.
And it proved to be really pricey.
It proved to be really pricey, and even just trying to get somebody on rehab of alcohol, for example,
Which is a problem.
Which is a problem in Zambia, which is a smaller problem than the psychological effect of having people die in your house. That would probably take months and months of years.
Years.
Of counseling.
We'll buy someone a new house with that cost.
Yep. how can you go and do a session that's 100 kwacha per hour when your income is 800 kwacha for the whole month, man? Probably won't be able to afford it. Or even if your income is 2,000 kwacha, man,
it's still a lot.
Still a lot, man. Yeah. How many sessions can you do in a month? Yeah.
And you need it consistently.
You need it consistently, man.
Every time you stop, there's a relapse.
Mm-hmm.
You fall into very bad habits. And traumatized people end up to be quite dangerous even.
Yep.
A lot of serial killers all start out with trauma from their childhoods, and they end up resorting to pain as a release, whether it's theirs or somebody else's. Anyway,
another issue is that the way it's being, due to a lack of better terms, I would say, advertised on Facebook. Like people are making memes out of the whole situation and all sorts of funny stuff. So like it would wrongly motivate, someone else. You know what I mean? Like after seeing a meme talking about murdering each other and all that, someone would wrongly get motivated and go and do the same.
And I've noticed another thing we don't really talk about in Zambia is cyberbullying.
Exactly.
Because that's also a real issue, and it seems like a Zambian pastime, something we enjoy doing. Just being as ruthless and as savage as possible to someone suffering.
Instead of comforting, we pour salt on the wound, man. Make it worse.
Anyway,
unfortunately, that's the culture here in Zambia.
So we should be very mindful with all these memes going around Facebook and all social media platforms.
I guess exercising some empathy, like if it was me or someone I knew, would I be this heartless towards them?
Definitely.
Yeah, especially think of the deceased on both sides, the female and the male. They still have living relatives out there, you know, that not only have to deal with the story, but still have to bury their dead ones, their loved ones, you know. And then they see all this still going around social media.
You know, when Corona just started, after about 2 weeks, and certain parts of the world were in lockdown, like the UK, for instance.
Yeah.
You know, there was a murder that happened. You know, because these two people were forced
Okay.
to live within such close proximity with each other all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so I'd like to talk about the mindset that coronavirus has brought about. You know, because I've seen there's been a string of murders, you know, partners killing their lovers and things like that. It's been on the upswing in recent times.
Yeah.
So would you say that COVID is pushing people to the edge mentally?
Of course it is.
Yeah, but I'd say it's like more indirect than anything, by creating the circumstances, like just making it impossible to afford a life. And you have this pressure, and then there's another person who's just always there and is a constant reminder, like, you need to be taking care of this person. Is that so? You might even develop a resentment towards them. And you know, tensions just build up and build up and build up.
And you know, with the situation in Zambia, you know, it makes it a bit worse than some of these other countries, because you find we can't really operate from home 24/7. There are power cuts like 8 hours a day, you know. So you find this guy is supposed to be running a barber shop or even an internet cafe or whatever it is, and power's gone from like 6 to 15 hours. So for most of the day he can't make money, and then Corona hits, and then shops are closed, cafes are closed. It's much more worse, because they can't make money and they can't even get to the internet. Even if you're selling your stuff on the internet, power's gone. So how do you do that half the time, you know? Yeah. So our situation just makes it way worse. Yeah, you can't make an income if your business is power related, you know. Anything to do with power.
Dependent on power.
Yeah, anything dependent on power really has to shut down for a while.
And you know, the clock doesn't stop. Time keeps moving. You still need to eat. You still need to do things. People are still... In fact, the fact that everybody else is suffering as well. You're getting calls and texts asking for money.
Yeah.
It's the tension, no?
Yeah.
All right. I guess we've fully explored. Okay. Apart from one fact, I mean, not one fact, but one other thing, aspect of the whole murder thing.
Yeah.
The couple in question were actually quite young.
Yeah.
To my understanding, the male is about 24.
24, yeah.
And the female is about 18.
Yeah.
Is this somewhat of a sign that you should wait till you're older to get into before you start trying to create a family?
I don't think so. I really feel it's about you being ready mentally and emotionally, you know. If you look at the previous generations, the generations of our parents, you know, people were getting married as young as 12. I personally have an aunt who got married at the age of 12, and her husband was 16 at the time. Yeah, and they had a long, healthy relationship. It wasn't one of those arranged marriages. No, they met in town, you know. They went to the same school. Yeah, and after the guy was done with high school, he went police recruitment and got married to the girl. And yeah, she did drop out of school, but later she turned out to be a businesswoman. So I think it's a personal issue, It depends on whether you are emotionally ready, whether you are financially ready, because finance is more important than emotion when you are deciding to live with a person for the rest of your life, or trying to make a permanent relationship of some sort. Yeah, finances would definitely be the key issue behind that.
So you could almost say that the emotions are like the symptom of that financial stress.
Yeah, because you see this young couple fall in love, and these days, if you see the social norm of these days, or the trend, is that a guy should provide, The woman believes the guy should provide, monetary wise.
Even if she has her own money.
Even if she has her own money.
Yeah, he should still provide.
Yeah, he should still provide. Yeah.
Also, it's best to get a full understanding of something before you indulge into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because mostly what happens is you get into a relationship, then a few moments later, you change your mind. You're no longer into the girl.
Yeah.
Or the girl is no longer into you for whatever reason it is.
I guess it's also about how you meet, Most of these young couples meet in the clubs, at a party,
Where there's endorphins and adrenaline and all that.
Alcohol, it really clouds your judgment,
Yeah. So please be sure of what you're doing, what you're yet to get yourself into.
Don't be quick to commit.
Yeah, don't get carried away as well.
Don't let your emotions lead, We should study the art of the mind, heart, and the soul, Understand the heart. The heart yearns, but it's not always right, The mind is logical, so if you think about it, if you process it, you'll find that maybe it's not the right time. She might be the right one, but it's just not the right time.
Yeah, I've also seen that. Okay, I think you guys have noticed for a long time in Zambia, you'll find that people want to get married.
Yeah.
Especially, in my opinion, especially women.
Yeah.
They're looking for love. They're looking for commitment. So the first person, okay, not the first person, but like someone who they feel they connect with, they tend to go full in. They haven't really. I mean, to really know somebody, you have to be dating them or be seeing them for a while.
Yeah.
Especially. You should see phases in their lives.
Yeah.
Because what you might have done is just caught them in a good part of their life. Everything is going great, and it's easy to be with somebody when things are great.
Good.
Yeah.
But
happy.
When that person loses everything, really test it.
That's when everything goes south. Now.
Hey.
Yeah,
You get to see the true personalities.
Yeah. You get to see if you're really who you claim to be. Yeah.
You should even pay attention. Okay, you can see that they're sweet and they're loving to you, right? But you should see how they also treat the people who are closest to them.
Yeah.
Whether it's their friends or their family.
Yeah.
So you can see the character of how they form bonds.
Yeah.
From growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tend to believe every new relationship has what they call the honeymoon period,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You don't really know each other. You're mostly acting, if I should call it acting, because
the representative.
Yeah.
The representative. Yes.
You tend to hide certain things, like small things, like some people wouldn't date a smoker or somebody who drinks. But somebody will pretend for the meantime. They'll be like, okay, maybe somewhere along down the line she's going to stop smoking. Or maybe somewhere along the line she's going to stop drinking.
That's where to stay.
Yeah. So that's the problem. We're not upfront. We want to hide because most people, most young relationships, you'll notice that it's based on what they can get out of the relationship. You know,
Beneficial.
yeah. Can this guy take me out to nice places, get me nice food, get me nice clothes? You know, for the guy, it's am I going to be able to brag to my friends about this new girl I've got who's so fine, you know?
How beautiful she is. Well, like, okay, she's great looking, but she doesn't really talk English well.
That's one. Yeah. And okay, on that aspect, you know, on the sad note though, most girls who want to get married actually at an early age do come from a house that's not so well to do, you see. So they're looking for the guy who can take their financial troubles away, you know. Yeah, it's sort of an escape. Marriage is an escape from your problems, man, from your
into a better life.
Into a better life, yeah.
There's also that sort of, I kind of feel that, you know, women sort of look for someone who is as close to their father as possible.
Yeah.
Someone to take care of them, protect them, nurture them. So if that's gonna be you, they also expect you to have the same financial means.
Yeah.
To go that distance.
Financial muscle
Yeah.
is a prerequisite for relationships.
Yeah.
It seems to be these days.
It
I
is.
mean, I've seen stuff on social media, Facebook, and you see people posting up stuff like, if you don't have any financial muscle, then don't bother getting into a relationship.
True.
Like, this is not Z World.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, that's the status quo at the moment. You know?
Okay, hold that note. Let's go to the second topic. We spent a lot of time on that first one. There's a lot to dissect.
Yeah.
But the second one comes from Nicola in Bristol, in the United Kingdom. She wants to know about murder mysteries. And one we believe can give people an interesting insight into murder and all these things is the story of the Milan brothers here in Zambia. Do you have a better insight into the story?
Yes, there's an exhibition where you can go and you see where the Milan brothers used to live, and parts of it have been cordoned off, right? So they'll tell you don't touch anything, don't take any collectibles, just leave that stuff where it is. Because like them guys were involved in some serious juju. Right? At this one time, what happened was people say that they followed a snake, right? A snake just showed up and it took them to a place where a white person was. You know, and they killed that white person, you know, and people say that it was a snake that took them there.
So it was sort of a ritual, so to say.
Yes, like
the snake wasn't just an ordinary snake. It was spiritual. It had some spiritual thing behind it. Is it?
I guess so.
Yeah.
You know, because otherwise how would it know to take them to where this person was? And it's not just any ordinary person, you know? You know, it's a white person. And, you know, what, if anything, what does that mean, really? You know, a snake leading them to where a white person is and then the person dies.
So, how many victims were there?
The Milan brothers apparently terrorized villages, not just like one place. They moved from place to place. Yeah, they would terrorize a village. Some people would go missing in that very village. Yeah,
they killed the headman as well.
It should have been also a sort of ritual, because they would, after killing a certain number of people in one place, they would move on to the next village. Yeah, and do the same.
But I had heard that they were living like in the bushes,
like nomads.
Yeah, so like what could possibly be the motivation or the end game for the ritual? Because what are you standing to gain from it?
It's actually power. You know, like the more sacrifices you make, the stronger you become.
Like blood magic.
It's really got nothing to do with finances or living a comfortable life or whatsoever it is. It's all about power.
I could get that. Like you mentioned rituals, right?
Yeah.
For instance, I heard once that a baby's newborn hair in our culture,
Yeah.
they're going to shave it off and they're going to burn it.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
Because like apparently it has some supernatural power. It
Yeah.
is believed.
Yeah.
You know, so I guess a lot of what they were doing was meant for attaining even more supernatural power.
Yeah.
You know?
Bringing the supernatural power aspect into it, I hear these guys had charms that would enable them to shape shift. Yeah. It's sort of like the charms that poachers use, you know. Yeah. They would go into the bush, kill a wild animal, and maybe like a rhino or something, and you have your law enforcement Zawa go into the bush trying to pursue them, and to throw them off, they'll shape shift into one of the wild animals. Shape shift into an impala, for example, you know, and
Even trees.
you drive right past the impala, not knowing, looking for the poacher, or drive right past the tree, you know. Yeah, so that the magic was also meant to help them blend in and hide
Yes.
in open sight, in plain sight, you know. That's why they didn't really need a house or a place to stay. Yeah.
Even Mushala, you know, the story of Mushala, the insurgent who wanted to overthrow Kaunda.
Yeah.
Apparently, he was also into charms and the like. And his wife is the one who led the people to kill him eventually, because she told them about his secret, how he uses the charms to protect himself.
Yeah, we've had a long history of charms in Zambia. We should not forget that that's part of our history, that's part of our tradition, you know. It's not a part that we like to talk about because we're not so proud of it, you know.
Because trying to transition into that Christian nation.
Yes. But you see, like people like Mushala, people like even Katele Kalumba for a while, they couldn't catch him because he was also, you know, shape-shifting, you know. Rumor has it that when they went to apprehend Katele Kalumba, the two officers that apprehended him were butt naked, and they bathed themselves in charms. The time they apprehended him, no one could see Katele Kalumba. They actually thought those two guys were delirious because they were sitting in the back of an armored truck, butt naked, and there were just the two of them, and people are like, "What are you doing butt naked?" And they're like, "Katele Kalumba is right in the middle of us. He's seated in between us. Only we can see him. If you want to see him, Welafala Mabamba, no. Go Wamba and you catch him." That's the Bemba saying for it.
For our international listeners, could you translate?
Okay, it means if you want to catch this guy, Katele Kalumba, go nude, go butt naked. Because the moment you wear any piece of clothing, you will not be able to see him.
That is going beyond the call of duty, eh?
Yeah.
Just
Sometimes you have to go an extra mile, you know.
for the job.
Yeah.
So, the Mylan brothers, how were they caught? What investigative measures were taken to figure all this out?
I hear their family was actually involved. The mother and father were not happy with the way their kids were terrorizing villages here and there, and they assisted the law enforcement to find their whereabouts, you know. Yeah. I think we should commend the parents for actually letting go of their personal attachments and emotional attachments to family and helping the community to find these criminals. Yeah.
You're a monster. I heard that they sent in people from the army into the villages.
Okay.
So they infiltrated and they started to live a way of life that was like one of the people in the village. Meanwhile, they were gaining intelligence about where they could be and that type of thing. And eventually, they're the ones who went and put them down.
I see. Yeah.
All right, the Mylan Brothers. Where is that museum, by the way?
I'll get back to you on that one.
Okay. Hopefully we can put it in the description when we upload this interview. Okay. Next topic comes from Dania in Birmingham, United Kingdom. She's interested in conspiracy theories, and in particular, Pizzagate. For people who haven't heard of Pizzagate, and in 2016, one of Hillary Clinton's subordinates, his emails were leaked, and amongst those emails, apparently a connection was revealed to the Democratic Party and a child trafficking ring. And it was said that the child trafficking ring was they would use restaurants. In particular, there was a pizza place which was like the main spot where they would keep the children and transport them. So it gained a following, and people would, basically act out on their own, some vigilante stuff.
Yeah.
Guys would go into restaurants searching for kids, even shooting locks off of freezer doors. People would be sending death threats to these people who ran these pizza things.
Yeah.
And even though it wasn't fully proven, the conspiracy theory has carried on.
I could see how it would gain traction because there isn't a lot of trust that is given to Hillary Clinton. She's looked at as somewhat of a liar. So, but then again, you also have to factor in that people love a good conspiracy theory.
Definitely.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
And they get hooked on it so easily.
Especially, a chance to save the masses from the patriarchy and the people in power who are, subjugating us.
Yeah.
It's like they fall into believing these things because, at some point you need something to believe in, right? And sometimes something resonates with you and you think it's the truth, and you go out there and you try to pursue what it could be.
It's far-fetched.
Very.
But
Very.
But I don't know if you've ever noticed, but things like child trafficking rings,
Yeah.
don't seem to have that much coverage on the news,
No.
and you can wonder, well, why is that? Why don't people talk about these things?
Well, what I think is, for something that is clearly illegal in pretty much all of the jurisdictions on the planet,
Yeah.
for you to have an access to that, you need I think it's a very specific clientele that goes for something like that, and I'm talking about this in the context of what happened allegedly with Jeffrey Epstein,
Yeah.
and that child trafficking ring that he was involved in. It's just unfortunate that these things could happen in modern day society, but the reason why they aren't on the news is because they try to keep them a well-kept secret.
But for it to be a well-kept secret, you need people pretty high up to be behind it.
Exactly, because not every story makes it to the news. Like it's a lot of events that happen and are never heard of out there. Reporters select a few topics to put on the news, and for a topic to be selected, it has to be verified by someone high up there. That's it.
Yeah.
So probably that's the reason why we don't get to hear a lot of these conspiracy theories about kids missing on the news.
Yeah, recently, just like about a month or two ago, in Kabata, specifically Libala area at Libala Primary. Yeah.
That's in Lusaka.
In Lusaka, yeah. Kids were going missing, and I have two nieces that go there. In that period, I felt I couldn't let them go to school alone, and the school's so close by. It's walking distance, it's just 15 minutes away from the house. Yeah. So now people had to go and take their kids to school and pick them up. You couldn't send like a new relative or the maid, But unfortunately, that's the thing in Zambia. Mostly it's the maid who goes to pick up the kids from school, And then maybe the maid's fired, you've got a new maid. So your teacher doesn't really know who's responsible for who. And if you look at the government schools, it's way too many students in the class. You've got 60 students in a class, How's the teacher going to keep track of all 60 students and know all their guardians?
Is there a secured car park? Like, is there a guard who's there who knows family members who come to pick up the kids?
Not.
And things like that.
Unfortunately not. Especially at our government schools, we don't have guards. And even when we have a guard, it's a mediocre guy, He's done no training at all. He's just called a guard by name.
He's probably getting like 500 kwacha a month.
Yeah. Some even get as low as 300 kwacha a month,
And even when someone comes to pick up a child, if they're met with any resistance from the guard, all they have to do is pretty much, exercise that authority, and he'll get scared.
Yeah.
And he'll just go get the child. Sorry, boss.
Yeah. And also the level of education of the so-called average guard in Zambia, apart from these companies that actually recruit people and train them on how to be guards, the average guard in Zambia has no qualification, if any qualification, grade 7 exam.
No education.
Not anything beyond grade 7 certificate, And how do you expect somebody of that kind of level to ask the important questions? He's not going to take time to ask the important questions. He's just going to go about his normal day of business. He's already getting paid little money, so he wants to do as little as possible,
He could easily be fooled by a con man.
Yeah, he could.
All you have to do is have a nice suit, show up in a nice car.
Yeah,
Okay.
Even on foot, just as long as you dressed well. Yeah.
So to the employers out there, it's best that you practice coaching after recruiting your employees.
And
Yes, you have to coach the employees and train them
Yeah.
on a daily basis,
yeah,
rather than just employing someone and pointing to say, just stand there at the gate.
That's your post.
He doesn't really know what else he's supposed to do apart from standing at the gate.
and I very much doubt guards at security companies have like training sessions over and over again, or teaching new methods, getting better at certain things. I think they just get trained the once.
Yeah.
Exactly, because training and coaching is sort of an expense.
It is inexpensive.
I remember reading in Nigeria, it would be so bad that you'd have kidnappings
Yeah.
that would be taking place. So children are kidnapped from school, and then the ransom has to be paid. And I mean, God forbid it should reach those levels here in this country.
Yeah.
You know, but it's worrisome. You see people going missing all the time on social media, you know, stuff like that, missing children, and you wonder, where are all these kids going?
Yeah.
You know, every couple of days it's another kid who goes missing, and what is happening?
Yeah. What is our law enforcement doing to kind of set precautions, you know? I remember once taking my niece to the very school, Libala Primary, and we found these cops who were not concentrating on the kids at all, but just concentrating on traffic, you know? Yeah. We understand we have a problem of traffic in Zambia, but, you know, what's the bigger issue? A life or getting stuck in traffic, you know? Yeah. A child's life cannot be priced. A human life cannot be bought. Yeah. And these people were going missing. These children were going missing in broad daylight. It wasn't at night. No, it was broad daylight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recently, there were also issues of ritual killing again.
Oh yeah, that was a big problem. Early 2020.
To early 2020.
Yeah.
Where people would get attacked in the night and get robbed of their organs.
Yeah.
Also, there was gassing, wasn't there?
Gassing as
It
well.
was gassing as well. Yeah.
Gassing came immediately after
the ritual killings.
ritual killings.
But the thing is, did they ever arrest? Okay, they arrested.
A few suspects.
Yeah, but I haven't heard of any convictions.
No.
No one going down for it.
Apparently, even the method of that was used to arrest those people, there wasn't like a serious investigation behind it, you know. As long as your neighbor has an allegation and points at you, that guy we suspect him to be gassing, then they come pick you up, you know. There wasn't really any thorough investigation where you have cops on the ground going around just trying to find these guys, you know. I hear the same guys who are gassing were actually using people in the community. They would offer them money, right?
Yeah.
They offer you money and ask you to gas your neighbors. So at the end of the day, the people who were being caught were pawns, you know. The mastermind behind hasn't been caught.
And it's a crazy thing how the story just went away.
Yeah, it just vanished, you know. One moment we're talking about it, next moment it's just gone. Yeah.
So is it safe to say all these conspiracy murders rather, as a result of poverty?
That's usually where I usually point the finger at, is how tough everything is. But at the same time, I don't see I can see how it was the motivation for, like you said, people were being offered money
Yeah.
to gas their neighbors, but I don't see where the motivation for the entire thing is from. Like, why would you start gassing houses?
The thing is that they use vulnerable people, you know. You go to someone who's dead broke with no money, is trying to make a living, who's down to do anything, you know, for some money in his pocket, and ask that person to kill someone and steal his heart and his genitals or something.
Wasn't gassing a form of terrorism?
Exactly, it was.
You know, so
It was like they were trying to send a message out there.
And it's like people really didn't know when it would stop, and it forced them to take up arms and start pretty much apprehending anybody who looks suspicious.
Actually,
were
it
burnt
reached
alive.
as far as mob justice. Yeah.
Yeah, people were
Yeah.
burnt alive,
Yeah.
killed in certain ways. Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard this story on Facebook that there is this guy who his story was that he was coming from the gym, but it was late at night. It
Yeah.
was very late, and a mob got a hold of him, and he had to beg for his life
Yeah.
before they let him go. But he was even fortunate that he was let go, because a lot of people just it went
their
straight to
life.
murder.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But the crazy thing is, this could happen because we've never really caught the people.
Yeah. It
This
could happen again.
It could happen anytime they feel like getting back into it.
Yeah.
I heard one story. These 3 guys work for an NGO, so they go over to Southern Province with vehicles. So they go into the field to do what they were sent there to do, and at some point the road gets blocked. You know, so they start to go back, and they're followed. What happens is at the guest house where they were staying, you know, that's where the crowd comes upon them, and they decide to execute mob justice over there. You know, so I mean, it's ridiculous to think that you could go for work someplace and then not come back because of mob justice. And I guess that's how riled up the people were because of this. It was very confusing.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that's very confusing. You think, this has never happened before in Zambia.
Yeah.
You know, what are the motives of the people who are trying to do this? Is this like an omen of things to come? You know, are things gonna get worse?
Things pretty much took a downward spiral from there.
Yeah.
Pandemic, lockdowns, businesses shut.
Yeah.
The dollar to our currency has skyrocketed.
Yeah, it's now 20 kwacha for like $1. So, you know.
21.
21. Wow.
21.
So the
Yeah, it's
standards of living has really gone up, you know.
but people's incomes have not grown.
Fuel pump
meet it.
prices were supposed to go up, but then the Minister of Finance, he issued a statutory instrument that removed the VAT that you would pay on fuel in order for the prices to remain the same. And there are already rumors of shortages, so I mean, this year's not starting off on a good note.
Yeah.
All right. We've had a lot of sort of morbid,
Sorry.
dark topics today. I promise it's not usually like this.
Yeah, unfortunately, we just have to talk about the burning issues in our community. So, yeah, we had to talk about this.
Here's okay, let's try and deal with this one really quickly. Skills.
Yes.
This one's coming from Dania again, Birmingham.
Okay.
Global warming, real or no?
Global warming
Is it real?
or not?
Yes.
Well, global warming is real because the number of industries in the world are increasing by the day. You know?
Okay. Kingpin?
You'd have to look at what the statistics are regarding the polar ice caps. You know, they've been melting. It's also statistics looking at what the average surface temperature is of the Earth.
Yeah.
You know, that steadily has been rising. The oceans are getting more heated up. Coral reefs are dying. You know, so it is very real. But seeing as the world is mostly capitalist,
Yeah.
We're focused on the money.
we'll focus on the money, so things might not change.
Magoo, real or nah?
definitely real for me, you know. I've seen it, especially in the past year. We had a heat wave at one point where everybody was talking about drink water, you know. Yeah, keep yourself hydrated, you know. Some people were fainting in broad daylight, you know. Yeah. We've also noticed like a change in weather patterns, you know.
Definitely, yes.
Our rain used to come a bit earlier than usual, you know. Yeah. Now it comes towards like the very end of the year, November, December. Back then it would start by September, you know. Yeah.
And I've seen that now it's like for it to properly start, it's in January.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that consistent rain.
Yeah.
It's January.
Yeah. As for me, yeah, it's real. I mean, you can only you see the evidence. I don't know if it was 2019 or 2020 when there's even that water problem in Cape Town, where they started saying that, you know, we might have to start rationing water.
We also had a drought in sort of a drought in 2019, you know. We didn't have as much rain. Yeah. The harvest overall in Zambia was really down. Yeah, to a point where we've always been that country that gives relief in form of food products, you know. Maize would give to Congo, but at some point 2019 to 2020 it was banned. You couldn't export any kind of food product, you know.
Okay, but that makes me feel like bringing up the point, right? That the ban was suggested because it was scarce, right?
Yes.
Now, since we haven't had that much rainfall, according to the government, we've had increased load shedding hours.
Yeah.
But it's been said that we've never stopped exporting power. You know, we've been supplying like Congo, Malawi.
Yeah.
So I don't.
And
see
South
the
Africa as
rationale.
well.
Even South Africa.
Yeah.
And I think they're doing much better than us in terms of economy, because for the first time the rand has overtaken the kwacha.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't see how we are exporting a scarce resource.
The reason is because the reason why we export electricity to these countries is because contracts were signed. It's not like we're exporting electricity for free. You get?
Yeah.
So there are contractual terms that are being followed.
But wouldn't it have
It
been?
can't just be terminated all of a sudden.
Wouldn't it have been advisable at the time of constructing the contract that in case of any, you know, problem in our country, we should amend certain timelines and dates, because even you gotta look out for yourself in the future.
Yeah.
You can't say it's always gonna be great, so we can manage to do this from this time until the future.
Yeah, I feel our leaders didn't plan. They haven't planned well, you know. They have planned, but not very well, because we've seen about 2 changes of governments. We've seen 4 presidents in between in the last 2 decades, you know. And we've had this power problem since 2001, as far as I can remember. So it's 2 decades. In 2 decades, we should have been able to sort out the problem. Either build a new power facility or turn to alternate source of energy, because it's so sad that Zambia does not want to invest in solar for fear that ZESCO will make less money, you know. That's really sad. We're trying to preserve a monopoly in opposition to try and find alternate sources of energy, you know. We've got sunshine all year round in Zambia, so solar would be the ideal next best alternative.
Also, okay, I don't know how they planned everything, but I don't think they accounted for the growth of the population.
Yeah.
Well, how much more we would need.
That's where the poor planning comes in place, because you have to realize if we were 12 million back in 2001, you know, we were bound to double that number in the years to come, in 10, 15 years to come. This is 20 years later, and we still haven't planned for the population. Even our census is not really accurate, you know. Yeah, there's certain places in Zambia that are so-called unreachable, so they're unable to count the people in those remote places. Yeah.
All right, we've dealt with that one quickly. This is a bit of a sensitive one, so prepare yourselves. This one comes from Amr from Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates. He would like to know how, or our thoughts on how sperm was designed perfectly to travel through a woman's vagina, and the woman's vagina being the perfect environment for a sperm to reach the egg. How did the vagina know how to make itself, and how did the sperm know how to make itself to be a perfect match for each other? Feel free, have at it. Whoever wants to tackle this one first.
Alright,
isn't that like God's plan? Like God had it all planned out when creating human beings.
I'll see it from 2 points. Yeah, I agree with Skews that it's God's plan, and I agree with evolution as well. You know, I'm one of those who believes that both happened at the same time. You know, God's plan and evolution happened at the same time.
In partnership.
Yeah. So, for example, how does a larva turn into a butterfly? You know, it's part of its process of evolution, right? So in the same way, the womb or the whole vaginal system, canal, so to say, was designed to adapt to different circumstances. At one point, they're going through menstrual periods. In another point, eggs getting fertilized, and so it's part of nature. It's the design, but also the human body has evolved to that perfect state in which it can contain the embryo. You know.
Kingpin, any thoughts?
He said design, right?
Yes.
So what I would say is intelligent design, right? That is a theory that underpins all of creation, right? That all of this was created with intelligence, you know. So you could extend the reproduction to, like, say, plants, for instance. You know, it's incredible how everything comes together. How you have pollination, and you have bees that are part of the process, and bees themselves. You know, look at the beehives that they create. You know, and you think something so small would have the knowledge of such complexities of design, you know. So it goes back to intelligent design. That's what I have to say.
I'll add something on the intelligent design. You know, for example, how does a chipmunk know when to clean its baby? You know, when to take the lice off its hair? You know, how does a dog know when to clean its pup's ears or its eyes? Yeah, so that is part of the intelligence in nature, and it's seen from the Procreator that he designed everything on this earth to be intelligent, you know, to adapt, you know.
Also to sort of live off everything.
Yeah.
You know, everything feeds everything. Everything helps each other sustain life.
Yeah.
You know, all the way from the living animals to the dirt, the river, everything. All right, guys, we are wrapping it up with the final topic. This is where Kingpin, you can continue that thought I told you to hold. This is coming from Roy in Ndola, Zambia. He wants to know about the Zambian gentleman in regards to fashion, manners, ladies, and charity towards them that, he basically has to give.
Okay, so fashion, manners, and charity, right?
Yes. For
Okay.
the ladies and
Fashion. I would say the Zambian gentleman, fashion-wise, you'd see boat shoes.
Yeah.
You'd see boat shoes and secret socks. And
does anyone here wear secret socks?
Once upon a time, I have.
They are comfy though.
They are comfy.
yeah, I think the dress code isn't very extravagant, flamboyant. It's very chill. Yes. Maybe they might jazz it up a little with a leather coat here and there. Yeah. But personally, I'm the type of person who rock a suit, So if I were out on the town with a lady, I'd want to perhaps be smart casual. Yeah. I think that's the overall fashion sense that they have.
Well, they do say it's better to be overdressed
Than underdressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
What about we've also got the other side of the Zambian gentleman, the one that wants to rock the Louis Vuittons, the
Gucci.
designers, Gucci,
Even the Versace.
Versace.
and Off-Whites.
I think we're still working out.
Yeah.
Are you talking about skirt?
Yeah, okay, we've got those people out there, and you see in this modern Zambia, we've got the divide, or should I say, it's two sides to the same coin. You have the Zambian gentleman dressed in full casual, yeah, from top to bottom, Off-Whites, Jordans, yeah, all that designer stuff, yeah. And I think for those, it's more of a fashion statement, yeah, because they also have this crowd of ladies that only want to be with a guy that's fashion-wise,
And he's ticking those boxes.
Yeah.
He's following the fashion trends. There's now couples who are going for his and hers. At some point last year, his and hers was like trending everywhere. The
'Cause
guy
fashion-
will get this king outfit and the girl will get this queen outfit, and they're matching. Yeah.
The thing is that fashion is influenced, and mostly you find the greatest designers are from the Western world, Italy.
Yeah.
Hence,
Speaking of, Pierre Cardin died. He passed on.
may his soul rest in peace.
Yeah.
Another one. He was the founder of Pierre Cardin.
Yeah,
Pierre
Pierre
Cardin.
Cardin.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
My bad.
Apparently, when they buried him, they buried him with a design on his casket. It was a sword that was made from a pair of scissors
Yeah.
and like a string of thread passing in between.
Yeah.
Black and gold. Apparently, it was spectacular.
As far as fashion goes, I'm sure as much as you want to keep up with the current trends, I think you should also dress to an extent that agrees with you, because I've seen that slim fit is highly popular nowadays.
Yeah.
But you've seen quite a number of gentlemen where slim fit, it's not agreeing. You know, like it's really, it's really hugging on that body for dear life. It's
Tight fit, right?
I personally don't wear slim fit. Not that I've got anything against the slim fit designs, but you know, I like a more loose kind of material. You know, I like to wriggle around. You know,
comfort.
I'll start off from home with the idea that I might just run into a sporting activity, man. So let me wear sweatpants, you know. Yeah, you know, wear a pair of Takis, man, you know. Yeah. So
Fashion is a great way to express your personality, especially from a distance. You know?
And if you've noticed, like you said, we are influenced by the West. Yeah, and when I say the West, I'm even including West Africa, because West Africa really has a big influence on Zambian music, you know, Zambian trends. If you notice, most of the ladies will either watch Telemundo or Nigerian movies or Ghanaian movies, you know. So those have also come in and, you know,
And speaking of music,
really influenced us.
Speaking of music has a very huge influence on fashion itself. So someone will watch a song and see how the artist is dressed, and you want to look like the artist.
Yeah.
Okay, in terms of ladies, you know, the Zambian gentleman, like we talked about the standard in the country, what a lady expects from the Zambian gentleman is not always within the Zambian gentleman's reach.
Exactly.
So your views on that, like, even though it's expected of the Zambian gentleman, do you break Zambian gentleman protocol, or how do you deal with this?
You know, if you talk about male dress code, you know, there's certain things that are expected. For instance, the length between your shirt and your collar, you know, where your tie should be, things like that. There's a lot of expectation that the man should be immaculately dressed, you know. So regards that, I mean, I think if you're well put together, then that should be okay.
Well, the thing is, the Zambian gentleman is in 2021. There's a pandemic. There's load shedding.
Yeah.
There's the dollar versus the kwacha. There's expenses. There's rent. There's not as much money coming in. There's food that needs to be bought. There's relatives who are hungry. There's,
You know,
oh,
what happens if you work in a mine? 24/7, you're dressed in a
work suit.
and
And the hard hat.
I think
safety boots.
the Zambian gentleman even had time to breathe when those bars were on lockdown.
Yeah. Most definitely, because if you see now, the statistics say there's more women out there drinking than men, you know. Yeah, you know, the women are drinking even more than us.
Yes,
Yeah.
because the men are out there solving problems. You don't really have time to drink anymore.
Yeah.
The men are out there allegedly solving problems.
Yeah.
Okay. That would be quite controversial.
So the orthodox Zambian guy, if he's dating a so-called free-spirited girl, you know, he has to at least take her out every weekend, you know. Take her out to an elaborate club, you know. Get drinks for her and her friends, you know. Actually, these days, if you can't get drinks for her and her friends, then you're not good enough, you know. You don't meet the mark, because these girls will take you out there, parade you, and she will let her friends actually rate you. You know,
They want their friends to be jokes.
Exactly.
No, they got a catch.
yeah,
Exactly.
You know, but the thing is, it's also a trend on social media. You see women posting memes like, be that perfect supporting girlfriend who encourages a business instead of drinking, who encourages building a plot instead of,
buying Birkins and all that.
All of this. But
and there are even memes going around, where people are posting stuff like my boyfriend bought me this, and then at the end there's a caption, can your boyfriend even?
I've seen that trend. Can your boyfriend even?
And what you're talking about, like build a house with him, this and that, and at the end of the meme it'll say, and he'll still leave you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like they're being encouraged not to commit, not to be supportive, not to be loyal, and things like that.
But when I even think about that statement, who's doing the encouraging? Is it not themselves?
Yeah.
Because the men aren't making these memes.
No.
If he's not inboxing you about what is your Airtel Money account or what is your this, that, e-wallet, then he shouldn't be in that inbox.
It's safe to say that the Zambian gentlemen are expected to have deep pockets. You need to be ballerific. That's where the mark is. Like that's what's expected.
That also comes from the trends. Like music, like we had said earlier on, is a big influence. And you've got West African music talking about chop my money, I don't care, Yeah, and then women literally expect you to take that, tell her chop my money, I don't care, They feel you should be able to spend all your money today and come up with a plan tomorrow.
But I'm also thinking, right, how old is the Zambian gentleman? Because reaching that level of expectancy, to function that way, pizza, this, that, life on the weekends, all of this. Zambian men don't really get to that point until quite later on in life.
Till their 40s. Most Zambian men are financially stable in their 40s, and that's the problem. You have these so-called elderly people in their 40s who are supposed to now be like role models, parent figures. They're still going out to the clubs and they want to get the girls that a 25-year-old is trying to catch. So then this girl expects this 25-year-old to be able to afford the same things that this 40-year-old guy is affording. Yeah, and forgetting that it took him a while.
It took him a long time.
It took him a long time. Some of them only get to like 38 till they start to see serious money. Yeah.
So
I would advise Zambian gentlemen to not fully depend on employment, because it is the fact that Zambian gentlemen depend on employment that they only get financially stable in their 40s.
Yeah.
Instead, if Zambian men focused on other things like production,
Businesses.
Yeah, starting up your own business, farming.
Yeah.
We would become financially stable at a younger age than that.
But bear in mind, you can't create that business if you're taking her out every weekend. I mean,
yeah,
sure.
and then the sad thing is, not so many people have the privilege of living in the farms.
Oh yeah.
You have those people in Chilenje, in Kabata, Matero. Where it's such a small yard, your cars can barely fit in. Or you have a yard that's full of concrete. You have no space to put a garden. And most Zambians actually live in rented houses. I could only say like 25% of Zambians live in their own houses. Most people are renting out there, and it's almost impossible for you to start a farming business when you're renting, because you see, the farming business will not give you the money right then. Then it will take about 3 months for you to see your profits. If you're doing tomato, for example, say, So I think those are factors that kind of hinder certain youths. But then there are other youths who are privileged to have the farm life, but because everybody wants to move into town, as soon as they make a bit of money, they leave the farms and go into town. Yeah.
You can use living in town to your advantage as well.
Yeah.
Because due to that fact that everyone goes to town, everyone wants to live in town.
Yeah.
You can start up businesses like, car wash. You can wash cars.
Yeah.
Just right outside your gate.
Yeah.
You can open a barber shop.
Yeah.
So
Then most Zambian gentlemen still prefer employment.
So I'm thinking in terms of charity. You should really wait until you are on a profit kind of level. You know what I mean? You have things in order, and as Skills suggested, if you have a business, something that's making you money on the side, you can get to that point faster, so you won't have to be 40 before you are the Zambian gentleman.
Yeah.
So I feel like, in conclusion, the Zambian gentleman has to be redefined.
Yeah. We have to redefine it ourselves, because at this point we've left it to the ladies to decide it for us,
and it's not fitting for the masses. It's only a very, very select few.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that has been the end of the show. I'd like to thank you guys again for coming on to the show. We've been your hosts, Mr. Pars, or you can call me Sunday,
Malindu the Kingpin,
and our guests,
Skills
and Magoo.
Until next time, we will catch you again.
Peace.
Safe. 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 Safe.
Chilanga Conversing.